If anybody's going to get the sheriff's department called on them for selling a basketball hoop without the stuff in it, it's me, right? So I'm like, really? This is real life.
You're listening to The Calm,
The Storm,
The Whimsy podcast.
We went to the Carrie Underwood concert.
Oh, yeah,
and
I saw that.
don't know a lot of the songs, but my daughter does. Like, she knew every word to every song. Then Carrie does a cover of Guns N' Roses' Paradise City. And I'm like rocking out, and Liza's like, I don't know these words.
She was so mad about it.
She was so mad. She's like, I didn't know this one. It's not her song, but she did amazing.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, we drove by. We saw it from the road.
Oh,
we saw
so
the concert.
fun.
Yeah.
It was so fun.
Yeah, it looked really cool.
I brought up the Demigorgon because the first time she listened to our first episode, she goes, Demigorgons? What am I listening to?
The satanic
I messaged
podcast.
you. I was like, what is happening in this whole thing? I'm like, Hillary, I can't watch the whole thing. Like, there's like 45 minutes of like, I don't know what's going on. Like,
The first one?
Yeah.
That was
my
terrible.
neurodivergent
beautiful.
brain couldn't even handle what was happening.
If you're ADD, you were gone.
Well, there's a sequel to the first one coming out in a few weeks.
No.
Next week.
Is that next week's?
No.
Ooh, that was a rough one.
No, we have 3. So we have...
That's what I'm saying. We have a sequel to the train wreck number 2.
We were away for a while from each other.
And
And then we recorded it in the evening, which is where our best product comes from.
Yep.
Yes.
funny product
Had
comes
some
from.
fun.
Yeah.
A good time.
That's awesome. Why wasn't I a guest on that one?
I know. Right?
Because you would have been like, goodbye.
No, I would not.
I'm leaving.
Do you know who I am?
Well, if you brain couldn't have comprehended the first one, you wouldn't have been able to handle that one.
Well,
It was talking about spicing up your life. And we decided
I
we
can
were
do that.
super immature that night.
Yeah.
So when Crystal starts talking about putting a blanket out, having a picnic, and having tea,
She lost her mind.
I couldn't stop laughing. I got the giggles. And I'm like, what kind of tea
I
are
like
you having?
hot tea. What is so funny about that?
Kelly's
Why are you in middle school?
Oh my gosh. Okay, since we're doing this, I'm just going to tell a story.
Yep.
So I'm helping start a nonprofit thrift store for Kelly and Lenny. And I'm currently collecting donated items and selling them on Facebook Marketplace and eBay and all the things. So I'm way too trusting of a person, okay? And I just assume what people donate is like legit, right?
Gosh.
I've learned my lesson. You can't assume that. So somebody dropped off like brand new, like tons of new stuff. So there was brand new action figures, there was brand new
All sealed in the box.
games, everything was sealed. So it also came with an arcade, like a basketball arcade set. So like you can set it up and like literally like throw the balls. Like
Like a larger one?
yes.
Okay.
The box was sealed along with all the other brand new sealed items. So I didn't think anything of it. I listed it for $20. This lady's like, oh, I want it. I'm going to come get it. I'm like, cool. So I put it out on the porch. I have like a money box that I put out there. She put the money in and left. Well, we're redoing our whole house right now, like moving kids' rooms around and stuff. So we're working on bedrooms. And it's when we're in our upstairs, like our doorbell doesn't work. So when we're in our upstairs, you can't hear anybody like knocking on the door. I have to know they're coming or be like right in the living room, or I don't know they're here. So we're in bedrooms. Kids are everywhere, moving things around. My phone's blowing up and I didn't know it because I don't have my notifications on, or it would literally make noise all day, which is why I don't respond right away
Oh, that's why?
to phones. Yes. Why I don't answer the phone when people call. So I like picked up my phone to check, and this lady, I'm just gonna read it to you.
Oh, no.
Oh, my.
I'm literally like on the
I'm
edge of my
nervous
seat.
right now. What did you give her?
Found it. Okay.
What was the word first?
She can't tell you.
Can't tell you.
Oh, gosh.
Hi.
gosh.
The basketballs, pump, and timer are not in the box. Okay, so I didn't respond
No
to that.
basketballs,
Okay.
no pump, and no timer.
In the
Arcade
basketball
set.
arcade set.
Okay.
Or the hoops. Then she comes back and says, the board is not in here either. We will be back for the $20. My husband will bring this back and pick up the money. I didn't respond because I didn't see it. Thumbs up.
Okay.
Please have the money in the box when we drop this back off. If it is not, I will call sheriff department to meet us there. She then heads to our house. I didn't know she was coming. I didn't see any of these messages. My husband noticed the basketball hoop was gone, took the money box off the porch without me knowing.
Oh
So
my
the
gosh.
money's not out there.
Stop.
She's banging on my door. And I walk past. I'm like, somebody's at the door. I'm like, kids wanting to play. Who is it? I mean, this lady is like wailing on my door. So I open my phone
It's
and
$20.
I'm like, I know, but people are scammers. Like, it happens all the time. It's maybe a little excessive, but if anybody's going to get the sheriff's department called on them for selling a basketball hoop without the stuff in it, it's me, right? So I'm like, really? This is real life. So I see all these messages and I'm like, oh gosh, like she's begging on my door. She's going to call the police. So I walk downstairs. I'm like, I have to talk to her right now. I was like, oh no. So I open the door and she's like she's mad. And she goes, oh, she just answered the phone. Like she was on the phone with the cops.
With the sheriff?
Yes. So she gets off the phone and I was like, I am so sorry. I just saw your messages. I had no idea. Like I explained, I said, we're starting a nonprofit. I'm helping get them going. People are donating things and it was all donated with brand new items. I didn't think I needed to unseal a box to check the stuff.
Wait, the box was sealed for that
but
too?
it had like clear tape sealed. So I didn't notice that someone had retaped it.
Gotcha.
So I'm like, I'm so sorry. I didn't think I will look at everything I have now from now on, unseal things I didn't know. So she's like, it's okay. It's okay. Like, I think when she realized that I wasn't like doing it on purpose, but of course the money box is gone 10 minutes after she drops it off. So it seems like I'm trying to scam her.
Well, yeah, you're not going to leave a money box
Outside.
on your porch.
Yeah. Tara's so
I
mad
think
right
like
now.
I have a question.
She thinks she has a question.
I am perplexed by if everything was missing from the box, wasn't it light?
No, there was stuff in it, just not the most
Pray
important
tell,
stuff.
what was in the
Probably
box?
the frame.
Yeah.
Probably the frame to the whole thing.
Yes. It had...
This is crazy. I don't understand this.
Yeah, I don't know. The basketballs were gone. The pump was gone. The timer was gone. The hoops were gone. The board was gone. So it was the frame, like the piece that it stands on, and then you put everything on.
Get fun with that for 20
So, like,
bucks.
was it a big basketball hoop? Like one that you, like
a
set
5
up that has, like a
team
net
could
and...
stand at. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
And
And it
so
was like little blow-up balls. Like, they're not like big basketballs.
yeah, but
Yeah. Wouldn't you have asked before you took it?
Wouldn't-
Like,
Well, if
You would
I-
think
You
that
wouldn't
it would be
know.
heavy,
I
right?
picked it up,
More
and it
heavy?
felt like it was
Oh,
new.
okay.
I mean that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
I kind of wish the
to
sheriff would have showed up.
I know you do. Of
Just
course
for
you do.
fun. She texted
when
me.
was
She's like,
this?
I got the sheriff that called on me. I'm like, what is happening? So I called.
When was
I
that,
got more
yesterday?
content, guys.
Yes.
I know.
It worked.
That is basically.
That's how we live life right now.
I'm like, oh, yep, good for the podcast.
And then we usually tell one of us the story
And not the other one.
Yep.
keep one in the dark.
Yeah.
I got kept in the dark.
I think like though, I mean, sorry, just in my own perspective, $20,
I know.
and the police.
I know.
What?
If you call, they're coming. This
For
lady
$20?
is, she's
She
banging
call
on my
emergency
door.
or just the sheriff's
And
department?
then Hillary calls the sheriff. I've got this crazy woman banging on my door, demanding money, and I need you to get her off my property.
Okay, but what do you think I do? I'm like, do you want gas money?
Oh,
Because
Hillary.
I want him to buy you a new basketball
Did you
set.
say that?
I did. I'm like, I'll give you gas money because I felt so
Hannah,
bad.
your heart.
I will round up to make sure that it's an even number.
And if
I'm
you want
sorry
to go,
I inconvenienced you for coming back out here and calling the police on me, but I will give you some money.
I had to. It was my
Stop.
fault.
Wait,
Stop.
did she take it?
No.
Do you
Okay.
want my youngest son? I mean,
No, whatever. I just felt bad. My husband's like, I wouldn't have been as nice as you. I'm like, you wouldn't have paid her for that?
As our regular listeners know, we structured our podcast to launch 4 different types of episodes each month: parenting and family, marriage, womanhood, and wildcard. It has been 6 months since we started this journey, and today we're diving deep into our womanhood series, discussing purpose with a very special friend and guest. Joining us today is Terra Maroun, the passionate owner of Essential Bloom's Natural Body and Skincare. She's not only an Army wife and a mama of 3, but also a near-miss survivor and a big advocate for self-care and mental health. Terra, thank you so much for joining us today and being our very first guest on our podcast.
Woohoo! Yeah. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
So before we get into your incredible journey, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
So, how do you... I think as women, we tend to... That's like such a trigger question.
Yeah.
I never know what to say. I feel like I'm on the spot. Like, I'm going to be honest, I don't have any hobbies. I don't do anything except for make skincare and take care of my family.
Yeah.
I just started therapy this week, actually, and she asked me the same question. She's like, what do you do for yourself? And I was like, nothing. Like, she goes, well, do you go for walks? I was like, I did, but right now there's a wall in front of me, and I can't get over it, and I can't get around it. And I'm struggling with that. But, like, I feel like that I'm not alone in that.
Yeah.
So when people ask, like, tell us a little bit about yourself, like, I can talk about all the things that, you know, as far as my family and my kiddos, but as far as like me, myself, like that's a really hard question to answer. Sorry, I don't know.
Oh, no, go for it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But no, I own a business. It's an organic skincare company, and I started that about 5 years ago. I've been
5 years.
almost 5 years. I started it during the pandemic.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Good stuff, though.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I like it a lot.
She's glowing.
And so, yeah, I started that, and it has it's grown, which is amazing. And what else? So I do that very much full time. I never leave my home. I do it out of my home for right now. I'm looking for a space, but
Do you do that on your own? Just you?
so it's
Or
me
do
and
you
my
have-
mom. My
Okay.
mom works with me, and I'm actually looking for like someone else to come a few days a week. So anybody, any takers. Yeah. So, and then I have 3 kiddos. They're 13, 12, and 9, and they keep me really busy. They play a lot of sports. So there's that. And then my husband, he's active duty military, and so he's in and out quite a bit. So it's just me rallying our troops and maintaining some kind of semblance of normalcy in my house.
How long have you been married?
We will actually be married 17 years on Sunday.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's about it for me.
That's awesome. So how did you connect with us and to be a guest on our podcast?
Well, do you want me to go way
Yeah,
back?
I
Hillary
think
forced
so.
herself on me,
Yeah.
actually.
I want to hear the story because I don't
Not
think I
Hillary.
actually know.
Yeah, so our daughters...
Wait, hold
our-
on, real quick. Clearly, she has forced herself on everyone.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
And we're all thankful.
We
Yeah.
are.
No,
We're
I
better
am.
people.
I literally am so thankful for her. She's such a bright spot in my life. Yeah, so our daughters went to preschool together, and I had a new baby, and she was pregnant, and she basically just came over to me and was like, hey, we're going to be friends.
Oh my gosh, that's so right.
you don't get to say you're my friend.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, psycho. I guess I'll be your friend.
If I'm not, what happened?
Right.
No, yeah, but no,
Wow.
that literally was a complete exaggeration, kind of.
I believe it.
I'm okay
No.
with it.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm glad I'm not the type of person that just goes up to people and says, hey, you want to be friends? And so I'm glad. I was at a point and place in my life where we were struggling financially, and I, my daughter was 4, my oldest was 4. So like the near miss was like still very fresh, and I just had a baby. So I'm just in this twilight zone.
Yeah.
Like I just felt like I was just spinning and spiraling out of control. And she just entered my life at a place where I didn't know I needed her. So I'm thankful for her. And I'm thankful for like everybody that I've met through her. Like
Yes.
everybody, you should come to this and you should come to that, and you need to get out of the house. Let's go. Yeah. So
Super
I'm
good at
thankful.
connecting people.
She
for
is.
sure.
She is. And if you need something, Hillary knows everybody. You need
does.
windows for your house? Hillary's got that. She's got it.
And if she doesn't, she'll find someone for
Absolutely
you.
will.
Yep.
Oh my
She's a problem
goodness.
solver.
So I have a question for
Sure.
you before we move on.
Yeah.
So near miss experience. Can you just define that?
So a near miss survivor is somebody that has for traumatic birth. So it's somebody that nearly passes away.
Okay.
And and doesn't, is revived.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I nearly passed away after the birth of my first child, and she just turned 13 in June. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Could you share that story with us?
Yeah. So, I don't know if you want me to kind of like go into like a little bit of detail. I know it's a very triggering experience. I won't like go into like super, detailed things, but
Sure. I feel like you can go where you want to go.
Sure.
So, yeah.
I just, as for listeners, I don't want to trigger anybody. So warning,
We
We will.
Yeah.
I'll put a trigger warning. We've had one of those before.
Yeah. So, labor was like my daughter, 13. I'll fast forward before or rewind backwards a little bit. So I was told I would never have children. I had stage 4 endometriosis. I had quite a few endometriomas that had ruptured. I've had many surgeries. I had silk pieces put over my ovaries to basically heal them. Adhesions removed. Like I had my uterus was attached to my rectum. Like it was outside of my uterus. It was everywhere. So, my doctors had all told me that I wouldn't have children. And I'm the type of person that I'm not going to take that. I don't take no for an answer, and I'm going to find a solution for myself. And I know that our bodies are created to heal. Like that's like God's purpose for us, is that we can heal, and disease and things like that. Like sometimes it's trauma, sometimes it's generational, it's passed down, but I truly believe that we can heal ourselves. So not taking that for an answer, I set out to try more natural solutions, and I went through Chinese medicine and acupuncture to heal my endometriosis, and I was endometriosis free for quite a long time.
Awesome.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then we found out, so the acupuncturist was like, there's nothing wrong with you, and I did this for over a year, and she's like, you're golden, it's him. And he had come back from a deployment in Egypt. And she's like, he's the problem. There's nothing wrong with you. So I had a problem. And then my husband, he ended up having varicocele. And varicocele is varicose veins that develop in the scrotum. And it heats up everything. And so the sperm was just absolutely destroyed. And so we weren't, like, I was having early miscarriages because I was able to get pregnant and then not maintain. So, so he had that corrected. And then once that was corrected, within 6 months, we were pregnant. And I actually went to an IUI appointment, and they were like, we can't do this because you're pregnant. And I was like,
Oh my goodness.
What?
That is, oh my goodness.
Yeah. So she was our miracle baby. I was like, okay, like we're doing this. And I was so excited. Like the pregnancy was amazing. And, we went in to have her, and, yeah, I hear.
Sorry, guys. There's children upstairs running around.
So I went in to have her, and pregnancy, labor, the labor and delivery was amazing. And I remember even saying to him, I was making jokes while I was pushing her out. And I remember saying to him, I was like, if it's this easy to have a baby, I want so many babies. And I just remember looking at him like, saying this. And, once she was born, she didn't come out. She came out. She didn't even cry. She didn't make a noise. She was so quiet. And to me, looking back on that, I'm like, did she know? Like, I feel like she knew something was about to happen. And so they laid her on my chest, and then we had a brief moment, and then basically shit hit the fan. And I started hemorrhaging. And so my doctor, a very large man, inserted his whole arm and the whole fist and arm right inside, and stayed there for 4.5 hours while they worked on me. And so,
my gosh.
Yeah, it was like, my husband describes it as like,
was he like holding something?
He was putting pressure to stop bleeding. I wasn't clotting. I wasn't clotting.
You weren't clotting?
No.
Wow.
So they worked on me for 4.5 hours, and it continued beyond all that, but I kept passing out. And there was a moment in time at that point when I left my body. Like I was not there. My heart was still beating, but it was very faint. And I remember I was actually floating above myself, and I could see all the nurses, all the other doctors, my doctor sitting at the end of the bed, my husband holding our baby, my mom on my right side. And I was just looking down at myself, and I don't remember amount of time that I was out of myself. All I remember is being like forced back in, and like this knowing of I'm not done yet.
It wasn't your time.
No, and it's like I just knew. There was no spoken words. It's just like this knowing that I wasn't done yet. I still had purpose. And I remember when I went back into my body, it and people talk about God's love and how intense and how emotional it is. I can't even put into words how amazing that feeling was. It was like from the top of my head to the tips of my toes, it was just this electrifying love. It filled every cell of me, and it was intense, and it was amazing. And I wasn't out of the woods yet. Like, they were still working on, saving my life. But yeah, I mean, there's so many more details, but just that altered me. The entire experience altered every fiber of my being, and I wasn't the same from that point. And you would think, like, surviving something like that, you would think that, oh, you have a baby now, you're happy, everything's amazing, but that wasn't the case for me.
So before you keep going, do you still, like, it seems like you can remember all of that, like it was literally yesterday. And I'm surprised they let all of those people stay in the room.
As far as family?
Yeah.
Oh, no. They kicked everybody out but my mom and Michael, my husband. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but even that, like, while they were trying to, like...
So the doctor didn't want my mom to leave, and they didn't want Michael to leave because they didn't want me to be alone.
Okay.
They didn't think no one expected me to walk out of that hospital.
Okay.
And I remember, like, I went into ICU after that, and they had inserted a balloon, a big balloon, to put pressure because I just wouldn't stop bleeding. And they had given me eight blood transfusions, 6 bags of plasma, 7 bags of platelets, and they gave me Hespan to keep my heart beating. And I mean, they were doing everything that they could. And I remember, like, this one nurse, he was a male nurse, and he was on my right side, and he came over, he, like, kind of scooted my mom out of the way, and he was trying to, like, put another IV in, or a PICC line or whatever it was. And I was like, hey, you're on the wrong side. I was still trying to make jokes at that point. Like, I just wasn't even with it because, like, I have a really good vein on the left side, so the right side sucks. But I didn't realize.
That's what she was worried about.
Yeah.
Don't poke me in that arm.
He kept saying, like, all her veins are collapsed. Like, everything, I had lost almost all of my blood volume. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was pretty scary. And then they put me in ICU with that balloon. And I remember being in ICU pleading with them to do a hysterectomy. I'm like, please just take it all out. Like, it wouldn't stop. And I was in so much pain. And I was passing these basketball-sized blood clots over this balloon and out, like, for almost 24 hours. Like, it just kept happening.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it was excruciating. That was worse than childbirth, was that. And I just remember that feeling, and I never want to feel that again, ever. Like, it was horrible. And yeah, it was like round the clock. I had my mom, my sister, and my husband stayed, and they just took turns staying with me because I was not out of the woods at all.
How long were you in the hospital?
I was only in the hospital for 4 days.
Wow.
Yeah, I spent 3 in ICU, and then, like, the day that I was, like, delivered, and then I went into ICU, and then no one expected me to walk out of there, like, at all.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then I went home, and it wasn't joyful for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
So I suffered with postpartum depression, PTSD. I was literally raging, postpartum psychosis. I had started having dreams of dead people a lot. I think because, you know how they talk about that veil, that we have that veil. I think that part of that was lifted. So there is that. So there was that whole piece. And there was just a lot for me to process. And then I have this new baby who wouldn't stop crying. So I have that. And then my husband has to go back to work. And we're a military family. We do have guns in our home, but they are locked up. And I just remember pleading with him all the time. Put them away. Like, make sure I don't know where they are. I didn't trust myself.
Yeah.
And I even went to the doctor, and he's like, oh, you probably have the baby blues. And he's the doctor that saved my life.
Why did they do that?
I wasn't ever screened. I
Oh,
wasn't.
you have the baby blues.
No, I nearly just almost died. And you saved my life, but I got the baby blues.
And gave me no mental health help at all, and just sent you home.
Yeah. Yep. And he ended up retiring. I remember coming into his office, 4.5 months after I had her, I got pregnant again. They told me not to have babies. So
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
That wasn't on purpose. Yeah. So. And so I remember going into the office. He's like, honey, I can't help you. He's like, and in fact, because he referred me to high risk. And he's like, this is out of my scope. And he's like, and in fact, I'm retiring. He's like, you scared the shit out of me. and he was like blatant. He's like, I'm actually retiring because of what happened. He's like, I can't.
Well, thanks
and he
for
felt
that.
bad. And he was crying. Like, he felt so bad.
goodness.
Yeah, he felt so bad. He's like, I literally, that it traumatized him.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's like, I've never had a patient almost die like that.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Did you tell him he just had the baby blues?
No.
Well, and something that's so like
Right?
exciting
Yes.
or supposed to be exciting experience of having a baby and all the things that come with that. I mean, there's like you still get baby blues when you don't have a traumatic situation,
Right.
and then on top of it,
Right.
oh,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah. So it was just about like digging deep and knowing that I had purpose. I knew I had purpose to stay here. There was obviously a reason why God didn't take me home. And all the things that I wanted were in that room. And that was part of my purpose. Was I had a husband that I prayed for a very long time for, and a baby that, you know, I also prayed for a very long time for. But I knew it was bigger than all of that. I just didn't know what it was. And so then we had another baby.
So how did you feel when you got that pregnancy test or found out you were pregnant?
With the second?
Were you terrified?
Oh, absolutely. I spent
Oh,
the
my
entire
goodness.
pregnancy scared to death that I was actually going to die.
Now that pregnancy is your second child.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
So we had her, and I was a C-section. I did bleed
Okay.
during that C-section, but they were prepared. For whatever reason, I lose my clotting factors. I've had every test done under the sun. I thought maybe I had placenta accreta, like for my oldest.
Sure.
But I don't think that was the case, because with my second child, I did bleed after, during the C-section and everything. But they had given me medications to prepare for that, like clotting medications and everything.
Okay.
So they were prepared, and it was all under control. But yeah, it was interesting. And then she came, and she was just like this chubby bundle of joy that just like slept like amazing. And
Like,
yeah,
I
You needed that.
this.
oh yes,
Well, you went through that traumatic experience, and Layla did too. You know what I mean?
Yes.
She did too.
She
so,
did.
like, she was probably crying a lot. Like,
Yeah,
she
absolutely.
doesn't know. I mean, she's little, but she still went through all of that.
Well,
Absolutely.
and you said you thought she sensed it. Something
oh
was
absolutely.
going to happen.
She was so.
Yeah.
I mean, we were just talking about it yesterday, my husband and I, about how quiet she was. She came out and
Like
literally
the calm before the storm.
Absolutely. Yeah. She, sorry. I just feel like she, I think there was like the sense of knowing, even being so brand new, I don't know.
So how long do you feel like you were in like a dark place?
Oh gosh. I have moments in time where I still feel like I go into a dark place.
Okay.
I'm still not fully healed. And that's another reason why I just started therapy. I actually found an amazing, birth trauma therapist who actually experienced her own birth trauma, and that has been 13 years for me to find. And I literally have been praying so hard to find someone. I'd gone to different therapists and counselors, but I didn't want to sit in a room with someone that couldn't relate to me,
Yeah.
that couldn't understand
Absolutely.
me. So it was literally last week I was laying in bed and I'm like, okay, Lord, I can't do this anymore. There was so many things like flashbacks like that just started reoccurring, and I'm just like, I have got to process this. And so I was praying, and I got on my phone. I was just laying in bed that night and searching like therapists, and I didn't put in birth trauma. So I did not know this therapist was a birth trauma therapist. And so when she messaged me back, she was like, yes, I have an opening. And then she called me and we kind of shared a little bit. And she goes, well, I am a birth trauma therapist. And I was like, get out. I just thought you looked great. Like, her picture was awesome. And so she actually shared as well that she had her own birth trauma. And I was like, this is meant to be. So then I met with her yesterday, was the first session, and she was amazing. I'm so excited to have found her. Yeah.
I feel like we've talked about divine appointments and divine purpose and things, and I feel like that's so appropriate. Like, wow.
Yeah.
That you wouldn't even know that that's what you were looking for. I mean, you knew what you were looking for,
Yeah.
but you didn't know that that's what she
God knew what I needed.
specialized in.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he,
Wow.
absolutely. Yeah. And it's at the right time. So it's like crazy. Like, yeah, it's been 13 years. It feels like it was just yesterday. But like all the life events, everything that I have gone through has all been orchestrated by God. I mean, I went back to school after my son was born and was going to go into, I wanted to be a maternal mental health therapist. Crazy. And I got my social work degree. And then I graduated in December of 2019, and then COVID happened. So I couldn't go to my LSW. I couldn't take the test. I couldn't go, and I had signed up to do my master's. I couldn't finish any of that. I couldn't go back to school. I had 3 kids. My husband was in Iraq. I'm like, my mental health is sucking right now. So then I started, doing stuff with Epsom salts and essential oils, and that's where Essential Blooms started. And then from there, because maternal mental health and everything I'm so passionate about it, and reaching other women, and we don't take care of ourselves. We don't love ourselves. We're not intentional with ourselves. We're intentional with others, but we don't take those 5-10 minutes to take care of ourselves so that we fill our cup so that we can pour into others. And so that became my passion, and I didn't want other women to suffer the way that I did. And there are no programs in place. Our hospital systems are a joke. They're really, I think they're a little bit better now as far as screening, but there's nobody that's going to show up for you.
Right.
No
you
one
have to
showed
show
up.
there.
Yes. And
and if you don't, then you suffer.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the business, that was part of the business. So having my social work degree and meeting people where they're at, and having that understanding, and having the experience that I had, I'm reaching women all over the United States. I have messages every day. It's crazy the way God has worked through me, just to be able to connect and have this understanding. I can't even. It's so crazy because I had this intention, and maybe that will come to fruition at a later point. But right now, I'm so content with what I'm doing. It's beyond skincare. It's beyond body care. It's beyond, doing what I'm doing in my home.
Right. So tell us more about that. How do you impact women with your company, with Essential Blooms?
So I try to connect through social media a lot. I try to just be very raw and real. I go on with no makeup. I wash my face. I just taking those moments. I'm a real person. I still have flaws on my skin. I have kids running around. There's noise everywhere. But that is the truth of what most women experience on a daily basis.
Right. If we get out of our pajamas, then it's a good day.
I'm not a big commercial skincare brand that, is just throwing these beautiful, flawless skin faces in front of you and saying, this is what you should look like. No, you should look like exactly what you're supposed to look like. You should look like you, not her. You're you, and you need to love you. And we don't do that enough. So I'm just trying to show up and be that voice and teach people how to love themselves, because I just don't think we do.
Wow.
So I remember back when the littles were at preschool. I don't know if your littles were still there. My littles were there. I remember being at the preschool, and I got a text from Hillary saying, please pray for Tara. Something almost happened to your husband. Was there a bomb that went off and you couldn't get in touch with him, and you had no idea if he was even alive, and it felt like forever till we got some kind of information that he was okay.
So during COVID, he was in Iraq, and there was a missile that was shot to where he was, where his location, and they had to take cover, and they lost all connection to everything. And it was really weird. I was up late, and I was sitting in the chair in my family room, and just something in my head was like, you need to check, and I'm not going to give the location, but you need to look. And I was like, what? Okay. So I Googled, and nothing came up in the United States news, but there was something that came up in foreign news that there was a missile attack. And I was like, stop. So I immediately tried to call him, and I couldn't get through. And I tried to call him again, and I tried to text him, and I couldn't get through. And then within 25 minutes, the U.S. news had started posting about, this missile that hit where he was. And literally my life just stopped. And I'm just like, I'm never going to see him again. That's it. He's my entire everything, if it wasn't for him postpartum picking me up, I wouldn't, there's no way I would have taken my life. And I know that. And if it wasn't for him stepping in with our baby and picking me up when I was down so many times, I wouldn't be able to go on in this life without him. And so the thought of that he wasn't here, or something happened to him, and that I'm going to get a knock on my door, it destroyed me. And it was almost 5 hours, and it wasn't days, but it was
felt like
long
days.
enough.
I mean, days, it could feel like days.
I had friends showing up at my door to sit with me in this silence, and I was just an absolute mess. And then I got a phone call. He called me from someone else's phone because he had no reception because of what had happened. And he's like, I'm okay, I can't talk. And that was it. And he had to hang up. And I literally felt like I could breathe.
Yep.
Like, I didn't know whether or not he was going to be safe after that point. And I didn't know because everything was like hitting the fan over there. And he came home. He was a little injured, and he's had surgery since then, but he was fine. And just every day is just, I realize how much of a blessing it is to be present. You know, yeah, we all talk about going to heaven, but gosh, man, there's so much here that is so heavenly that we don't take in, that we take for granted. You know, it just, I don't know. Life is amazing, and life is very precious.
So you've been through some things.
Lots of things.
Do you think that, I don't know if this is even an appropriate question to ask you, but what do you think made all of this come back up for you? It wasn't us, was it?
No, absolutely not.
Hey, can you come talk about your story?
Hey, can you tell us purpose and, you know, your purpose
Relive
in life?
your trauma.
I don't really know. I think that there are subconscious triggers for me. A friend of mine just had a baby. I went to visit her at the hospital. There's just things.
Yeah.
And I could hear a noise, and it reminds me of something, you know, from that experience.
Yeah.
It could be the most ridiculous thing. I don't know. Just stuff. It's just unprocessed. And so based on my training, I know that like trauma, if we don't process our trauma, there's, you know, this filing cabinet that just stays open, and the papers are just spewing out of it constantly, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whether we're aware of it or whether we push it down, we can't close that cabinet until that stuff is filed away.
Okay.
So I believe that part of our mental health journey is speaking to someone. I think it's necessary. And I haven't always been amazing at, you know, doing that for myself. But like I said, I couldn't find anybody that I could sit in a room with and actually could see me and validate me. So
what would you say for people who don't have your training, if they suffer trauma from something or go through postpartum? It's hard sometimes too to even feel like you can talk to somebody because you're scared of, are they going to take my kids away?
Right.
Or are people going to think I'm weird? Are they going to be scared? So how would you encourage people who, it doesn't have to be postpartum or even anything to do with kids, but trauma in general?
reach out to somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need to talk to someone. And it may be beyond, and don't think of it, there's a stigma that just because but your brain is part of who you are. It's part of your body, and you have brain health. If we know something's off and we don't feel like ourselves, you need to reach out and talk to someone.
I feel like the world, like, oh, you went through all that. That's terrible. But you have this baby and you have this family and you didn't think you'd have kids. You should be fine. Like, they put these high expectations on all of us. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we just need to talk and deal with those things that are causing issues in our lives.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And if you don't take care of it, it'll manifest into something else. Mm-hmm. If you're not taking care of yourself, your brain, your mental health, that's when things can set in, like illness, injury. Your body becomes weak. It holds on to those things. It stores them in the fibers of who you are. And it's extremely important to heal yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Sure.
Just, have you gone through other therapy, or is this like 13 years and I'm ready?
So I had
go to therapy.
Yeah, I had reached out to different counselors and therapists, and I would go for a few sessions. And I'm not a homework type person, so someone that's going to give me a workbook. I have too much going on at home. I can't sit and write.
I can't open my brain any more than that.
No. It's either we do it here while I'm in front of you, and you maybe give me a few tools that I can take home and just do, like breathing or whatever, like, breath work. But I can't sit and write at this point in time. I can't process half of anything that I think, and I'm not going to be able to put it on paper. Mm-hmm. And then what do I do with it then? No, I don't want somebody to read that. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yes, it took 13 years to find the right therapy. Yeah. And you healing yourself with God and your products and just filling yourself that way. But would you recommend? Do you think that it would have been better for you to stick out a therapy session? Like, how does that work? Because, like, I just don't know what that looks like.
As far as like sticking
for
with
yourself. Yeah.
So if I would have stuck with someone,
like the healing process.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I would go, and I would go for like 3 sessions, like I said, and I just didn't feel like it was doing anything. Okay. I didn't feel validated or understood, or it's almost like when I would explain my story, and it was almost like reliving it over and over and over again. I would explain it, and it was just like they would sit there with their mouth open, like, "Oh, you've been through so much." Okay, well, thank you for that.
Thanks for letting me rehash this all for you to not help me.
This is exactly why I'm here. But like, okay, not for somebody to look at me and be like, "I get it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
and hold you.
Yeah.
Like,
so
mentally.
I just stuffed it. And I would share with people that would ask me, or if I felt like I could connect with somebody, like that was part of it. And going back to school, like you wouldn't believe like these like PhD like professors and go like mental health. There's nothing in the text about maybe a little blurb about postpartum depression, but they don't talk about it. So you've got all these young girls, who are just full of life, and they got good collagen, and everything's working for them, and they're getting ready to go out into life, and they're going to have babies in so many years. And they're going through these programs to go help others, but like, how are they able to help others when they don't understand, when they're not even reading it in black and white in a textbook,
right.
It's not being spoken to them or shared with them, like there's something broken in the system and it's just not being fixed. So I thought, like, that's what I set out to do, was I was going to fix it.
You were going to fix it.
I was going to do it. So, like, that's part of, I know, like, right now I'm not going to go be a maternal mental health therapist. And I realized I had this eureka moment yesterday after I left the therapist, because she healed from her birth trauma. And I was like, I got in my car and I was like, okay, God, I hear you. That's why I couldn't finish, because I wasn't healed. I didn't process that. So how was I going to be able to help heal someone else if I couldn't really see them? And like, how much of that would have triggered in me hearing someone else's birth trauma?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it was like, I got in the car yesterday afternoon and I was like, I get it now. Okay. The schooling wasn't for nothing, but now I know why I'm not on that path yet. And that's fine. So, and I explained this to my therapist yesterday. I was like, the business, what I'd like to do with, some of the profits and proceeds is invest in programs, or maybe sponsor women who need therapy, who have postpartum, who can't afford to go, who don't have the resources. Like that's what I want to do. So that's the goal. So
wow. Yeah. I'm speechless. Honestly. Do you just have any last advice that you would want to give to women, or anything else that you wanted to share today? If not.
Yeah, I really think like giving yourself grace. Like, life is life, and it's messy and it's chaotic, but give yourself grace, because you are still a human being. You still have purpose. You are a person who deserves love, and you deserve to love yourself.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your personal story. And thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome.
We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Calm, the Storm, the Whimsy podcast. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, and Instagram. Stay tuned for our next episode. Are you hungry?
That was a Demigorgon. Where did that come from?
There's the Demigorgon.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, don't fart, burp, or growl.
Because it'll be on the podcast. This is going to be on there now.
Okay, so we're sitting there. Okay, this story is gone.
Hot tea, hot
I
tea.
don't know if it was like she's hungry or she has to pass gas.
No, I'm hungry.
Where is that coming from?
I'm not eating till like noon every day.
You're like,
so
can someone switch me seats?
I do not. Yeah. Oh my word.
That is so amazing.
Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.